welcome to the show. It's been a long time since Democrats have made gun control a centerpiece of their political agenda. It's been even longer since the leading Republican candidate for president came out for seriously restricting the right to bear arms. But Rudy Giuliani has. In June of 2000, then New York Mayor Giuliani announced his city would be joining a lawsuit against gun manufacturers on the theory that firearms makers somehow are responsible for crime. As Giuliani put it at the time, quote, "This is an industry that is profiting from the suffering of innocent people. What's worse, its profits rest on a number of illegal and immoral practices. This lawsuit is meant to end the free pass that the gun industry has so long enjoyed." Well, those words and many more like them now haunt Giuliani as he seeks the Republican nomination for president. Giuliani spoke to the National Rifle Association today in an effort to explain why, though he's more liberal than Howard Dean on gun control, NRA members ought to vote for him anyway. Here's part of what he said.
There are probably a few things we disagree about, but there are many more things that we have in common. I was a very big supporter of, and I worked for Ronald Reagan, and I remember his 80%, my 80% friend is not my 20% enemy.
Senator John McCain, among others, was not sold. He reminded the audience that Giuliani once referred to them as extremists. The question is, can Giuliani win over gun owners? Lawrence Keane is the Senior Vice President and General Counsel for the National Shooting Sports Foundation, an organization that represents gun manufacturers. He joins us now. Thanks all for joining us.
Glad to be here, Carl.
So you are part of an industry that profits from the suffering of innocent people?
No, that's a unbelievably offensive and defamatory statement by then Mayor Rudy Giuliani. This is a responsible and law-abiding industry that works cooperatively with law enforcement. We're shocked, at the time, shocked by Mayor Giuliani's comments, and we're probably equally shocked by what he's saying today.
He is not in any way winning you over, then, with his speech to the NRA. Is that what you're saying?
No. He can try to camouflage his record, but we can see right through it. He's wearing blazed orange as far as his anti-gun record goes.
Hold on. What do you think the response from ordinary gun owners is going to be to what he said
Well,
today?
When they learn that he made comments calling NRA members extremists and claiming the industry engages in immoral and illegal activities, they're going to look at his record, and they're going to see that he has a history of being hostile to gun owners, hostile to the Second Amendment. He has a very curious view of the Second Amendment. He apparently thinks the Second Amendment is different depending upon whether you live in Manhattan or Montana. And that's not simply not the case. That's not how the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution. Your Second Amendment rights are the same whether you live in Manhattan or you live in Montana.
I assume that would also apply to the rest of your rights in the Bill of Rights. To say the First Amendment, your right to free speech,
or
is
the Fourth
same.
Amendment.
That's right, exactly right. So here's a line that Giuliani has used many times in different forms during his career in public life. This is one quote, but there are again many like this. "We reserve the right to regulate driving automobiles, so we too must sensibly regulate gun purchases to preserve safety of all Americans." In other words, if you need a license to drive a car, you ought to need a license and maybe insurance to own a gun. What do you think of that?
Well, he's trying to say now that this Second Amendment issue should be decided by the localities. And so, again, somehow your rights as a gun owner, your Second Amendment rights are different if you live in South Carolina or in Manhattan or in Montana, and that's not the case. And in fact, he has favored national laws to license gun owners. He's favored the assault weapons ban. So he's trying to camouflage his record. He's trying to walk away from the fact that he sued the industry, a lawsuit, Tucker, that is still going on this very day. In fact, today, an appellate court in Manhattan heard argument on that case. So the industry members are still spending thousands and thousands of dollars on that very lawsuit that he filed back in June of 2000. He said today that somehow that lawsuit is not going in the right direction. Well, Tucker, it's going in the very direction he said it.
That's exactly right.
Right to the jury. And if it's not going in the right direction now, that's only because he's trying to do an about-face.
I believe that. And it's also absurd on its face. It's like suing General Motors for drunk driving. I mean,
that's
it's absolutely ridiculous. I wonder, though, I mean, just so our viewers understand this, Giuliani was party to this lawsuit, and in the quote that we read, attacked gun manufacturers as responsible for violent crime in part. Hillary Clinton, left-wing as she may be, has never done anything like that, has she?
Not to my knowledge. Rudy Giuliani is the only Republican mayor to sue the industry. All the other lawsuits filed by mayors were filed by Democratic mayors.
So you're saying essentially that on this issue, firearms and the Second Amendment, Rudy Giuliani appears to be more left-wing than Hillary Clinton?
That would appear to be the case.
So what does that mean for you all? I mean, and for the NRA and for people who own guns or care about the Second Amendment on principle? Who are you going to support? Let's say Giuliani is the nominee on the Republican side, Hillary Clinton on the Democratic side. You got to support someone, don't you?
No, we don't have to support someone, but we certainly aren't going to support somebody who sued us. And they can try to camouflage their record all they want, but they're not fooling anybody. You know, he said that he tried, today he mentioned that he was excessive in all his efforts to reduce crime. Then he took a phone call from his wife during his speech. Maybe he should have taken a phone call from the industry and learned a little bit about the fact that we're a law-abiding industry and we aren't profiting off of the of innocence, and we aren't engaged in immoral and unethical acts, and we aren't about to forget those statements.
And so, I mean, just to be clear, you're an American industry, by the way. I mean, presumably these are mostly American companies, right?
That's right, and supplying all the law enforcement agencies in the United States, including the NYPD.
Huh. Well, I really appreciate, Mr. Keane, your reminding voters of this, and I hope that you'll keep it up throughout this campaign.
Glad to be here.
Thanks very much.